Look, Ellie, look. Look, what is that? What is that? Look. Who is that? Ellie, who is that? Who is that? Right. Okay, bye-bye. Let's wave your hand. Let's wave your hand. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Mommy.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the birth story of my baby girl. If you are new to my channel, my name is Brenda. I'm a mom of two. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old, which is who I'm going to be talking about today. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So I'm just going to jump right into the video. So if you didn't know already, I had a baby girl in August. Her birthday was August 10th of 2019. And you guys can follow me on Instagram at Brenda and Bebes, and you guys will be a lot more up to date with what's going on in my life and my kids. So I wrote down some notes in my phone and on this notebook because it's been 5 months since I gave birth to her, but I just wanted to make sure that I didn't forget anything. So my due date was August 21st of 2019, but I gave birth 8/10/19, and I actually had an appointment on August 13th to get induced, which is what I did with my son. He was induced, I think, exactly a week before my due date, and a lot of things happened in this time around that happened with my son. So if you guys haven't watched that video, it's on my YouTube channel, and you guys could see the vlog and the birth story of him. Or if you guys watched my previous video, you know that I found out that I was pregnant with her December 8th and 9th of the previous year. Eliana was born at 7 pounds 2 ounces and 21.5 inches long. So she did come quite a bit early, and there are some things that I actually tried to do to make her, or at least try and get her to come a little bit earlier. So a lot of the things that I did was walk a lot. I took my son to the park that was nearby almost every single day, and I actually bought an exercise ball so I could sit on it and just bounce all day. So if we were at home watching TV, I would just get on the ball and just bounce pretty much all day. And then I also tried pineapple, and I tried the raspberry tea, but that was maybe a few days before I gave birth, so I don't know if it actually worked or if it didn't, you know what I mean? Because I didn't go into labor instantly after doing those things, but I did try just because what the heck, I just wanted to try it. Okay, so it is now August 9th, so the day before I gave birth to her. I was at home, and I was just at home with my son all day. I wasn't doing much. I know I was cleaning a little bit, and I did take him to the park. We hung out at home that day. We didn't really do anything crazy, but I had been getting some contractions off and on literally since 32 weeks, and they never really stuck. They would always just kind of go away, and so I didn't really think much of it. Around 6 p.m. is when I noticed that the contractions were still kind of going. They're super light though, very, very not painful. They're just I could feel them. I knew what they felt like just because I've already gone through this before. I didn't think much of it. We went about our normal day-to-day activities, and I would still have the contractions. They weren't going away, and right when we were going to bed is usually when the contractions would stop normally, and they didn't stop. They just kept going, but they weren't painful. I think I went to bed around midnight that night just because I was really anxious and wanted to see if the contractions were gonna stay. And then around 2 in the morning I woke up and I still had the contractions. They were still going. They were still and then I got up because I just could not sleep anymore, and I came out to the living room, and I was determined to make these contractions get stronger. So I came out to the living room, I turned on the TV, and I started bouncing on my ball again. and these contractions were not going away. So I knew that I was possibly in labor. And just let me tell you guys that at the 38-week checkup, my doctor told me that I was at a 4.5 centimeters dilated. So that was already like, that's a lot for not being in labor and just like walking around like that open down there. And so I kind of got freaked out and wanted to like go to the hospital right away, because I didn't want to like wait until they were already super painful and then like have the baby in the car or like in the living room, just because I knew from my previous experience with my son that that labor was only like 5 hours long. So I woke up my husband like around 4 in the morning, and I told him to get up because we were gonna go to the hospital and I wanted to go get checked just to make sure, because I didn't want to like wait too long and be rushing over there. Like I said, I was already at 4.5 centimeters. The contractions weren't going away. They weren't painful, but I knew they were consistent enough to where I thought maybe I could be in labor. And they were like around 3 to 5 minutes apart for a long time. So when I got to the hospital, they checked me and I was still like around a 4.5. So they couldn't really admit me, but I was so close that they just told me to walk around. And so I did that for a couple hours. And I did end up getting admitted to the hospital at 7 a.m. And that's when my friend Kendra showed up. She's a labor and delivery nurse. And so she showed up. She ended up being my nurse. She admitted me at 7 in the morning. And I can't remember if I was already dilated to a 5 or what, but the thing was that I was already progressing, so they were able to like admit me. The contractions still weren't like super painful. They weren't actually painful at all. They were just like cramps, you know, like I could feel my stomach tightening. As I got admitted, they pretty much just like got all the paperwork out of the way. They drew some blood, and that took kind of a while. And then they also asked me if I wanted the IV, and I told them that I didn't want it because I wasn't going to get the epidural. And usually they're okay with that if you don't want to get the IV. If you watch my previous video with my son, you'll know that I didn't get the IV with him either, and I didn't get the epidural with him. That's an option that you guys have. They did end up calling my doctor, and she said that she was going to stop by to check on me to see how I was doing, but like I said, the contractions still were not very painful at all. I think around 8 a.m., 9 is when my doctor showed up, and she went to go check on me just to see how I was doing. And she told me that she had to go check on some other patients at a different hospital, but when she got back, that she would break my water so that we could like kind of get everything going again. If you guys didn't know, there's a chemical in the amniotic fluid that triggers your uterus to open up. I was really excited because I knew that once she broke my water, like everything was going to go super fast and I was going to have my baby. But I knew also that it was going to start to hurt. During that time while I was waiting for my doctor, I actually took a nap, and that actually like saved my life, because even though I didn't have a long birth time, it still like hurt really bad, and like I used a lot of energy. So she showed up and she broke my water around 10:30, I believe. That doesn't hurt, just so you guys know. It doesn't hurt when they break your water. So after she broke my water, I walked around for a little bit. I wanted to like get all the like fluid out and stuff like that. They make you wear like a pad so that you're not like dripping everywhere. And then I came back to the room. I was in the hot tub for a little bit. That's when the contractions started to pick up a little bit. And then once I got out of the bathtub, the contractions really picked up a lot, and they were starting to get a little bit painful. What was crazy this time was that my contractions were hurting me so bad in my tailbone, and I could not stand to like sit down or like be on the bed laying down, because it would just hurt so bad in my tailbone every time that I got a contraction. And I could feel it in my tailbone coming like every time that it would start. And I kept asking my nurse, like, what the heck, like, why is it hurting in my tailbone? And she just told me that my son, when I had my son, he could have like damaged my tailbone. And now that I was about to have another baby, it was like putting pressure on the tailbone again and causing me pain. And so yeah, that was like the most painful part about the labor, was just getting those contractions in my tailbone and in my back, because in the tailbone, like, I couldn't do anything about it, but I did have my husband like pressing on my lower back with his hands and his like fists like that. So every time I would get a contraction, I would tell him, hey, I'm getting another contraction, come on. And he would put his both hands like that and put like a ton of pressure on my back, and that would help me a lot on my back. But my tailbone, like, there's nothing I could do about that. I ended up getting on the bed with my hands and knees, and that's literally how I gave birth. I was on my hands and knees because I could not turn over and lay down, because the contractions were coming so fast and they were so painful that I couldn't like bear to turn around and lay on my back and have all that pressure on my tailbone. So the only way that I felt comfortable was on my hands and knees. And so the contractions were coming super, super fast. I tried to like close my eyes and like focus and try and breathe. And I had music, I had the headphones on like as loud as they could possibly go. And I could feel myself kind of panicking every time that a contraction would come, because it would hurt so bad and there was nothing that I felt like I could do. And that's what I feel is the difference between this time and the last time with my son, because with my son I felt like there was something I could do about it. Like, I could breathe through them and I could have my husband put pressure, and like it wasn't that bad. And I thought it was going to be the same this time, but it was like completely different. It was way more painful and it was way faster. So I believe from the time that my doctor broke my water to the time that I gave birth, it was only like an hour and a half, if that. So it went like quick. I was only in pain for that hour and a half. Before then, like, the contractions weren't hurting, they weren't painful at all. And so it was crazy, because at one point I remember like wanting to give up, like not wanting to give up, but just feeling like I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I was like, I can't. I remember saying that, and my nurse was like, no, you can do it. And I just like remember also like my mom like trying to remind me to breathe, because my breathing was like accelerating so fast and I was almost like losing control. I'm just so grateful that I was able to get through it, because that was just so painful. So even if I wanted to get an epidural, I don't think there would have even been time to get an epidural. It was just so crazy. And so I was super ready to push. Like, I felt ready to push, and like my body wanted to push. And that's when it was even more painful, because I wanted to push so freaking bad, but my body was like already pushing. And that could be really dangerous, because when you're not fully dilated, you're not supposed to push, but my body needed to. And so finally my doctor came in. As soon as she heard me say like I need to push, she was like, okay, push. She asked me like if I wanted to flip back onto my back so I can feel more comfortable pushing or whatever, and I was like, hell no. Like, I could not, because it was hurting me so bad in my tailbone. And so the doctor was fine with it. She's like, if you want to give birth like that, then go ahead, it's fine. And so I was on my hands and knees and I pushed 3 times and she was out. The first push like didn't do much. The second push, her head came out. The third push, her whole body just like slid right out. And I was like on my knees, kind of like already upright, and I was trying to grab her from like between my legs. And I just remember them like yelling at me like, Brenda, like your baby's here, grab her. And I couldn't freaking grab her because I had the damn the rope that they give you, the gown, and it was like covering my legs right here. And it was so like ridiculous because I couldn't freaking grab her. I couldn't see her so I could grab her, and I finally grabbed her, and I just like, they helped me so that I was able to like lay back. And then they cut her umbilical cord, and then my doctor did tell me that I tore like a tiny bit. I told her if it wasn't that bad if she could just leave it and not add the stitches, because that was another part that was I feel like that was the best option for me, and it really honestly was, for a couple of reasons, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. Yeah, they cut the umbilical cord. I got to like have her on my chest for a little bit. They cleaned me up. They told me that I was bleeding a lot, and I think it was from the tiny little tear that I had. But also, like, having 2 kids back to back, I know like that's possible for you to like start bleeding a lot, but they were able to control the bleeding. I was fine, and yeah, that's the story of how I gave birth. Something that I really liked was that it was really fast, and I was able to do it again without an epidural, and I love that I had my support system with me. My husband was there, my mom was there, my mother-in-law, and my godmother was there. And my godmother is also going to be my daughter's godmother, so that's why I wanted to invite her to be there. And that was really like special. Something that I did not like was that it hurt more this time than last time. It hurt more with my daughter than it did with my son, but it went faster, so like it kind of like evens out. And something that surprised me is that it hurt in my tailbone. I was not expecting that. If it hadn't been so fast, like the whole like labor process, I don't think I would have made it. That's probably why so many girls like get epidural, because like you need the rest, you need energy to be able to push. Another question is, how would I describe recovery? The recovery part was pretty painful because I was really sore in my butt, in my tailbone, so I had to sit on ice a lot throughout my whole recovery process. And even like laying down, I had to switch like what side I would lay down on because it was so painful. I couldn't sit for long periods of time without having like that ice down there. And I also bled a lot this time compared to my son. I don't feel like I bled that much with him, but this time I did. I was bleeding for a few weeks. This time around, I was really scared to have my first poop, because with my son, oh my gosh, you guys, the first poop is scary. It hurts, and you bleed, and you tear, and it's traumatizing. So this time around, I knew that it was going to be painful to go number 2. So what I did is I started taking laxatives like right away, and I didn't have my first poop until literally like a week and some days after I gave birth. You guys, that's crazy. And since I had been taking the laxatives, I went down really easily, and it wasn't painful. There was no bleeding. I was fine. So I was like super excited. I was super happy that I didn't have to go through that again, because that was like terrifying when I went through that with my son. Every time I went to the bathroom, I would cry because it would hurt so bad. So just like one tip for you new moms: as soon as you get that baby out, like start taking those laxatives, because you're gonna want to go smoothly. Also, my first time having sex after giving birth wasn't painful, and I think it was because I didn't get stitches this time. So I was kind of like hesitant and worried about like the first time, and surprisingly it didn't hurt. And so I was really excited about that, because nobody wants it to hurt. And really get informed about your options and what could or could not happen, and just have that open communication with your doctor so that you guys can do what is best for you and for your baby. So don't be afraid to like ask them questions. So anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm gonna insert some clips of me and baby Eliana, maybe some pictures, I don't know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and comment down below and ask me some more questions. If I didn't answer them in the video, I will certainly answer those for you. And if you guys have any like video ideas of what you guys want to see, I will also be doing that. I'm gonna be uploading videos every week, so I will talk to you guys soon.